And now we turn our sights to the 100th season and the festivities this weekend for the 14-1 Cotton Bowl team. Chad Lewis, our next guest, he was a tight end on that squad, inducted into the BYU Hall of Fame in 2007, the current Associate Athletic Director over Development. Pleasure to formally welcome you back to the Wise Guys. Chad, how much fun is it going to be this weekend to be back with the boys from '96?
I can't wait to see everybody. I know Sarkisian can't be here. He's got a game, but I know that Shea Muirbrook's going to be here. He's one of our great leaders on the field, off the field. He's flying in for this game. It'll be cool to see. All of us will be the wide lighters. And just anytime we're together, it's a fun reunion. We love each other. We had great camaraderie then, and we still have great camaraderie now. So it'll be sweet.
What was it about that '96 team, Chad, that made it different from the others?
Oh, man, we were talented at every spot. That was one thing. We had great competition in every practice, defense, offense, and we were all fighting to get on the field. The tight end spot, there was me and Atula Mealy, who we loved each other, and we were both fighting to get balls, and we had a blast doing it. Here's an example of that team. My daughter, Emily, was born at the end of September, and so we were in the Utah Valley Hospital. I think every single person on the team came over.
Oh, wow.
And that was kind of a reflection of that team. Like, we cared about each other, and it was really cool to have, feel that kind of support.
Was there a moment early in that season that led you to believe that this could be a special year? You knew it was going to be a long season because you got A&M to kick it off in August. You beat them 41-37. Was that the springboard, or was there another game where you thought, hey, I think we can go 14-1 here?
It was just before the A&M game. It was in the middle of the summer. We met with Lavelle, and we said there was just a small group of us. We met him over above his office in the conference room, and we said, Lavelle, we want to be national champs this year. We feel like we have a team that can do it, and we're willing to give up or do whatever it takes to get there. And so everyone was putting on the table what they wanted to do. Some guys were saying what they would give up to make that happen. And then we also had a couple of requests from Lavelle. Steve said, Lavelle, we want to cover the ramp where we come out on the field. Can we do that? And he's like, yeah, I think we can get that done. Let's do it. And then Steve also said, and we want some smoke. We want to put some smoke. And he's like, yeah, I think we can get that done too. And it was such a cool adult conversation, because here he was full legend status at this time.
Right.
And he was talking to us like we were adults. He was talking to us like he loved us. And we knew he was going to go to bat for us, and he did. And it was just like, I want to just bottle that conversation with him, with that group of players, and just that feeling. That's what ripped us right into the season with a lot of confidence and momentum.
That 1996 year was a really interesting year. People are like, why did they play so many games? Well, that was the first year of the 16-team WAC, right? So 16 teams, which meant there was going to be a WAC Championship game down in Las Vegas. That was a crazy barn burner. We just talked about it on our AFR show this last week.
Yep.
And you caught a touchdown pass, but then it was Ethan Potchman's field goal in overtime that won the game in Vegas. Then the fans stormed the field. What did you do once the fans started pouring out onto the field? What did you do?
Oh, we were going crazy, the whole team. And we were chanting Fiesta Bowl. That's where we wanted to go. It was part of the Alliance Bowl at that time.
Yeah.
Right.
And our record, our team, everything deserved a crack to be there. We were ranked 5th in the country. And that's what we were saying on the field. We were just going nuts. It was so sweet.
That was one of the great moments in all of Las Vegas sports. I mean, the Vegas has had a lot of things, but they hadn't had Sam Boyd Stadium like that in a championship setting, sold out, went to the wire, 2 top 20 teams, but so much riding on the line with your guys.
Oh, man. That game specifically was the ultimate of joy and pain, because before halftime, Tula blew out his knee. He was tackled very low by the Wyoming safety, and his knee was gone. We all knew it. We went into halftime, and none of us wanted to even come back out and play. It was so sad. It was such a bummer. He had such a great year. He ended up playing 9 years in the NFL, but that moment with his dad in the locker room, giving him a blessing, and then we didn't even want to come out at halftime. And you could tell when you watch the game, it was like, what happened in the third quarter? Where were you guys? Our hearts were still broken. And we rallied. We fought back. Like you said, Ethan Potchman kicked a game winner. Henry Bloomfield had just a monster tackle for loss in overtime. But that whole team competed. That was a sweet game.
I think about that tight end tandem and that injury to Atula, but there's been some pretty good tight end groups at BYU that could rival anybody in the country. Has there ever been a better tandem than you and Atula there? I mean, if you look at the NFL, combined, how many seasons in the NFL? Like, isn't it like, how many years were you there? Were you there?
Both of us played 9 years.
So 18 seasons combined, and both really good in the NFL. Has anybody in the country ever had a better tight end combo than that at the same time?
Good question. All I can say is I loved playing with him. I loved watching him in practice make unbelievable plays. I loved watching him in games. He was so big and so light on his feet, great hands. It was just, for us, I'm telling you, it was a joy to play tight end at BYU because we were playing after a long line of legendary tight ends. We knew how important it was to the offense, and we loved walking on the field playing tight end for BYU.
Former BYU tight end Chad Lewis on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus and distributed by the Deseret News. Chad caught 111 passes for over 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns at BYU. A huge piece of that 96 team that went 14-1. BYU beat Kansas State on New Year's Day on CBS in the Cotton Bowl, the only New Year's Day program bowl game in program history. So we know the score and we've seen the highlights, but describe how it felt leaving the locker room and taking the field on that day. It wasn't the Fiesta Bowl where you wanted, but you were prime time on CBS against Kansas State on New Year's Day. What did that feel like to you guys?
And playing on New Year's Day meant everything to us. We knew it was Lavelle's first time playing on New Year's Day. We knew he deserved it. We wanted to win that game for him. We talked about it as a team. We had a great week of practice, and when it was time to play the game, we were fighting. And the game came down to the wire. Tim McTire made an unbelievable push out of Kevin Lockett, who caught the ball, would have been a game-winning touchdown. And in the air, he pushed Kevin out of the end zone. Next play, I think Omar Morgan picked it off to seal the deal. I think Shea Muirbrook had 4, 5, 6 sacks in that game. It was ridiculous. Steve Sarkisian was amazing. K.O. Kealalui had just the vintage game-winner touchdown. James Dye had a touchdown. It was the whole team coming together. We not only beat Kansas State, but we beat the refs who tried as hard as they could in that game to beat us. And we were in a sea of absolute purple down there in the Cotton Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
It was a perfect environment. It was just sweet.
And you had your contribution, 5 passes, 79 yards in that game. So Dave asked you what it was like to come out onto that field. What about leaving the field with that victory in hand, knowing you were 14-1? We're going to be ranked no higher than 5th. What was that like?
Oh, man. As soon as that clock ticked 0, there was a group of missionaries down in the other end of the field from where we were. We sprinted down there in front of the missionaries and just had a moment as a whole team. But then we stayed on the field for a long time. We hugged. All the coaches were there. Itula was on the sidelines. Most of us had number 88 written on tape and slapped on our helmets because he had just hurt his knee the game before. And to realize that we just won a New Year's Day bowl game. I think Shea Muirbrook started cramping about right then, and for the next 45 minutes, he was laying on the ground. Once we got him into the locker room, he couldn't move. He was screaming in pain. We were like laughing, crying. It was so sweet. That was a good one.
Thank you for watching The Wise Guys.
If you like what you're watching, you can help us out by subscribing and hitting that notification button.
It'll be quite the weekend to have the 96 team back. Also, former tight end Brian Billick's going to join you in the BYU Hall of Fame during induction ceremonies on Friday night. How about that? You and Billick sharing time in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, we went toe-to-toe a bunch of times in the NFL. Great coach. It's cool. You know, from the 74 team, the guys that got it all going with going to bowl games and winning championships, to have him come back and be recognized in Lavelle Edwards Stadium will be sweet.
Well, the big event this week, there's so much around this, but there is a game on Saturday night against Kansas State again this weekend. Isn't it great that we're honoring that 96 team that beat Kansas State in the bowl game, and now they come in and play? So we want your perspective on this game. What are your 3 keys to a victory for BYU in the Kansas State game this Saturday night?
The first thing already happened is Jay Hill did not die. He had a heart attack a couple weeks ago, but, man, I love that dude. I'm so thankful he came to BYU. I'm so grateful that he's healthy.
So key number 1 is Jay Hill's alive?
Dang straight it is. He's playing great. The defense is playing nice. You watch a game, and they're in the right places. The DBs are covering guys. Evan had a big pick this week. Jacob Robinson's had some picks. But the guys are playing great defense.
Yeah.
If you watch the gaps, the defensive line and linebackers are filling gaps in a really nice way. They're just playing with and together in a really good way. I thought Jake Retzlaff had a great game against Wyoming, where made some great throws, made some great runs, made some plays when he had to. I felt like as a team they took a big chunk step forward. I thought Keelan Marion taking a 101-yard kick return to start the second half was massive.
Yeah.
You know, we had James Dye in 96 that gave us great field position and such a boost on special teams. And that's what happened in that game with Wyoming. I know Kansas State will be a much better team at every position, but when you have people stepping up like that, especially on special teams, it just really motivates your guys, gives you great field position, and in that instance, points on the board in one play. That was sweet.
So here's your 3 keys then. Jay Hill's defense he's alive. Having Jay Hill alive is a key, but there's more to it, because he said the way they're playing and their gap sound and they're playing as a team, that's because of Jay Hill. So that's 1. Retzlaff's got to continue to make plays. That's 2. He liked the way he played last week. And then special teams needs to contribute in a big way. Are those the 3 then? Do we got them, Chad?
Yeah, I'm sticking with those 3.
I like it.
Those
I like those 3. Those are great.
Hey, let's finish up with this. Earlier in the week, as we were promoting you coming on the show, I tweeted out the clip of you defending the goalposts against the entire University of Utah football team. And we just had a question here on the live stream to ask you about that moment where the Utes are ready to tear down the goalposts, and like Superman out of nowhere, in flies
Chad
this guy with his helmet on in there to defend the goalposts. That says so much about you and your character, but what do you remember from that?
Oh, man, that was an intense time. My brother Mike had just finished playing at the U the year before, and here I was as a freshman. Utah beats us in what was then Cougar Stadium for the first time in a long time. Their players started to tear down the goalposts, and I was so mad. I remember just seeing it start to bounce, and I was like, that's it. I snapped my chin strap, and I ran down there, and I ran into the whole group of them, and that's when they turned around, they came off the goalposts, then they started coming to me, and then a couple other teammates came, Brian Hughes, others came, and there was a melee down on the north end zone. One of our coaches got punched in the face. Claude Bassett, he was our linebackers coach, and so the next Monday I had a big cherry on his face. He pulled me aside, and he said, I just want you to know that was the greatest thing I've ever seen at BYU.
A lot of people say that.
I thought it was way too much to see their team members trying to tear down the goalposts. Yeah. And
you couldn't stand
I'm
for
grateful
that.
the way that thing turned out.
Yeah, I'm more upset the rest of the team wasn't behind you. They let you go in there all by yourself and fight everybody off.
There was more that came down, so it turned into a good little melee. Yeah. And I'm glad for every single one of those guys that came and ran down. That was important.
Yeah. Hey, that's a great story, and the video clip's even better. Henry Marsh says, I don't think I've ever told Chad this, but me and my 2 young boys were with those missionaries at the Cotton Bowl, one of our favorite all-time memories, celebrating with the team after beating Kansas State. And your team gets honored this weekend in front of 62,000 fans. I hope you soak it all in, and you guys have earned it. It'll be fun. We wish you the best of all weekends.
And that was coming from the Henry Marsh.
Yeah.
The legend.
Thanks for saying that. That's really cool.
Hey, you're the best. Thanks for joining our show tonight. We'll see you at the stadium on Saturday.
Okay, see you guys. Thanks so
Chad.
much.